Morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Apologies about my voice, guys. It's still pretty early in the morning. Haven't got it fully warmed up yet, but we should be okay. Welcome. We're going to be getting started here. So, because of the way things worked out with people's schedules, we're going to be just flying through the semi-final rounds because I have replays for those. Turn this down just a little bit. So yeah, I have replays for the semi-final rounds. We're going to be flying through those ones pretty quick, and then we'll be running straight into the finals. So let's get straight into it. Let's get straight into it without further ado. Game's just loading up right now, so... Alright, so... Go ahead and get it switched on over here. Welcome, one and all. Hopefully you guys are enjoying yourselves today. Here we are. First round is going to be Tower of Hoeth, Gobbo Slayer versus Crabling. And it looks like Crabling's going to go with Norska versus Vampire Coast. We've got Throg leading the way, a whole bunch of Berserkers and Marauders, some Javelins, plenty of Javelins, Fire Famir. Looks like we've got, Skin Wolves. Pretty standard Norska build. As for the Vampire Coast, going to be led by Nocti Boy on foot. We've got plenty of deckhands, a lot of ranged units, a lot of handguns, bombs. We've got deck gunners, the Regiment of Renowned Shade Wraiths. Interesting choice. And a couple of Carronades, along with Lamprey's Revenge. Whoops, I believe I am missing the sound to the game. There we go. Let's get back to it. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting build for the Vampire Coast. A lot of ranged units to try and have to protect, but he could potentially get some good damage in. We'll see. Norska on the approach here is going to be taking some heavy damage potentially. We'll see. So far, I'm not sure exactly what the Carronades are targeting. Looks like they're probably going after these Skin Wolves over on the far side. Apologies guys, my voice is really not ready to go this morning, but, you know, we just gotta get it going. So, here we are. We're on a bit of a timetable today, so, yeah, apologies about that. Throg is taking some shots here from the Shade Wraith Gunners. They're not gonna do a whole lot. They will do a little bit more to the Famir boy there. He's going to get hit. And honestly, the reason I'm not the biggest fan of the Shade Wraith Gunners is because they don't do a whole lot of damage. You can see they have this leadership effect here, which is okay, but Gobbo Slayer didn't actually bring any terror-causing units in this army. Very nice Burning Head, rips straight through one of those handgun mobs and through some of these halberds as well. That's excellent work done there. Let's see how this melee engagement plays out. Did it overrun? Not quite into any other units. Doesn't look like it. Bombers are going to be opening up here as the Berserkers and these other units charge in. They'll get some nice damage in on the Berserkers, obviously, but then once the Berserkers make contact, it is going to be game over pretty much for the Bombers. You can see Skin Wolves also collapsing in, so a lot of pressure over on this side of the formation. Lamprey's Revenge are going to try and keep things stopped up here, but Throg will be able to do a lot of damage to them. That being said, over on the other side here, you can see this unit of Skin Wolves taking a lot of HP damage. They've just about lost out on their leadership. Haven't dropped any more models yet critically, but potentially can get routed off there. Very nice use of the Bombers as well, coming in here, bombing on those Berserkers and some of these other frontline units here. Those Javelins just getting shreked. So, yeah, pretty good stuff there. Looking a bit dicey for the coast, though. There's a lot of units incoming here. A lot of units kind of pushing this backline. That Burning Head didn't do that much to those Shade Wraith Gunners. I don't think that was an overcast. But regardless, this is a pretty good engagement for Noctilus. If he can keep Throg pinned in here, which obviously he can't. But, yeah, Noctilus will do quite a bit of damage to Throg. So, yeah. Lamprey's Revenge plus Noctilus coming over here to get some damage in on Throg. They hopefully will be able to see him off, but obviously with the regeneration, Throg will fight for at least a decent amount of time there. The Bombers, interestingly enough, do fire damage, something you have to watch out for, so they did actually just do a little bit of damage to Throg there. Noctilus's Bombardment also comes in. We kind of keep an overarching look here. You can see a lot of the Vampire Coast units are crumbling kind of across the way here. the bombs as well. Getting engaged on. Still have done quite a bit of damage. Let's see, 37 kills, not too bad there. Skin Wolves collapsing up on this side. This unit that had been routed off earlier but came back from rout, unfortunately, still has all, what, just barely now dropping to 15 unit models. That's pretty good stuff there. These zombie polearms aren't too happy trying to defend this little plaza situation right here. But if the Famir gets taken down, that is a big loss for Norska. It looks like he barely doesn't get that flaming sword off in time and is actually going to get taken out by the Lamprey's Revenge there. Noctilus also helping to probably take down some of these Skin Wolves as well. So the coast is not completely out of this yet. They still, they still have Noctilus. They still have Skin Wolves and other various things. So yeah, should be interesting. I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think Coast can take this. I think they potentially brought too many ranged units here and just getting out meleeed a little bit. Even the Javelins for the Marauders have decent enough melee stats. I mean, they can fight most zombie units just fine. So you can see Skin Wolves pressuring in the backline here, getting on this last unit of handgun mobs here. And Noctilus doing his best to trying to come through and wreck these different monstrous units. You can see he's halberd out, charging, but just can't get into contact there with Throg. He actually finishes off a Skin Wolf there. Oh, come on, Nocti. Get out of the way, you silly Shade Wraith Gunners. Nope. Javelins coming in. Doing some friendly fire, obviously, but it's not a big deal. Throg has taken a ton of damage here, but the fact that he's still on the field from that regeneration is pretty critical. All of their generating units, all of the Skin Wolves and Throg, all have taken a ton of damage, but they're still fighting here. So, yeah. That's an interesting one. Definitely an interesting build from the coast. I think, honestly, it almost ended up working out okay. You can see almost everything except for, like I said, the regenerating units. A handful of the Javelins are pretty healthy. This one unit of Berserkers still has 73 models somehow. Other than that, this build ended up working out okay. So I think I might cut out the Shade Wraith Gunners to get something that causes terror. Even just like one Mourngul or a Haunter or something like that. Just something that causes terror that you can use to terrify away those Skin Wolves, terrify away some of those other units. Apologies about the background noise. If you hear anything, my cat is doing something over there. So, yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and fast forward through the rest of this, as we do have some replays to get through today for the semi-final. But this is going to, as they're going here, we'll go ahead and update the scoreboard in Crabling's favor. There we go. Crabling's going to take that one. And, of course, it's a best-of-5 series. So, in terms of the breakdown there, lots of kill totals on Norska's army, as you would expect. For Gobbo Slayer, as I mentioned, just the Shade Wraith Gunners, I think, are a little bit of a tough pick here. But, yeah, the rest of the build, I mean, going with this very heavy ranged kind of offensive type strategy can work out very well against Norska. They don't trade the best into an attrition fight, but Crabling had enough offensive power to bust through and take things out quickly, take out these various ranged units relatively quickly and so on, and, just had enough in the tank to finish through, fully fall through on the rush. So, very well played to both. I'm going to go ahead and switch it on over to here as I get the next replay loaded up. So, let's see here. I don't know why. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if I need to like reshare this or something, because it shows me let's see. I don't actually see any chat or anything going, so I apologize if you guys are chatting. Here's it. It's kind of bugged out for me, so apologies about that. I don't know if it gave people notifications either, because it doesn't seem like there's that many people actually here. So yeah. Okay. There we go. What's up, Wicked? Alright, let's get this next replay queued up here. And we'll switch back on over. Grappling this time, taking the greenskins up against the lizardmen. We've got 4 savage orcs, a couple of skulkers, some goblins, 8 peak loons, rusty airs, some air boys as well, orc boar biggins, regiment of renowned squig hoppers, a giant. Pretty straightforward greenskins build. I like it quite a bit. I don't actually use savage orcs that much, but we'll see how they perform in this particular situation. For Gobbo Slayer, he's got a Dread Saurian, a Life Slan, looks like Skin Cohort, and plenty of Saurus Warriors, a couple of Temple Guard as well, and some Pahawk Sentinels with Pterodon Riders. Pretty good stuff. Relatively straightforward build from these guys as well. So, yeah. Yeah, the Lizardmen here, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, keeping the Dread Saurian alive and healthy and using it to kind of kill this entire army here is going to be the order of the day. But the Giant could potentially be a pretty big risk here. There's just a lot of infantry as well. Not a lot of immune to psychology infantry, though, so we'll see how the infantry actually comes in and stacks up. A couple unit of anti-large AP cav. The Durkit Squigs are also kind of a nice little choice here for some anti-infantry work. So... excuse me. Yeah. We'll see. Graveling approaching very patiently here, trying to make sure he can get all of his forces into a nice surround situation here. But AP Gloon's going to get into contact, and Wah being popped at a very nice moment. 37 charge bonus on those Savage Orcs as they charge in. 68 melee attack. They're going to come in and beat the brakes off of these Saurus Warriors very, very cost effectively. One thing that the Greenskins do need to do is clear out all of this support so they can fight the Dread Saurian kind of, not necessarily one-on-one, but obviously many-on-one. Dread Saurian comes in, though, is going to put a beating on this Giant. The Giant not getting very good RNG here, taking a lot of hits, and that also terrifies away that one unit of Savage Orcs. But, oh man, I just about missed that massive Foot of Gork, just wrecking that unit of Temple Guards there. Absolutely destroyed them, so they're going to get cut up by Savage Orcs now. Very nice use of that Foot of Gork to help clear out some of these supporting units. Shield of the Old Ones, Aura of Pretzels being popped from that Life Slan here to try and help these Saurus sustain in this fight, but this unit of Saurus is gone. This unit of Saurus is gone. This unit of Temple Guard over here also taking a lot of damage. That Banishment, not the best RNG, unfortunately. Didn't really hang around to do too much damage there. But over here, all of a sudden, the Dread Saurian starts to take a lot of damage. Effigy to get pinning it in place. It gets charged here by these Orc Boarboy Biggins. The Giant comes in and actually starts to get some hits now. Looks like we're going to get an Earthblood, a nice Vile Tide in response. But the Greenskins' assault is very, very heavy at this point. I don't know that the Lizardmen can hold out against this. The Air Boys all focus firing quite nicely as well. That Dread Saurian did get a regrowth, so it is regenerating even more HP now. But a Smoke Bomb, pinning it in place more or less, just keeping it, you know, from being able to escape those overlapping kind of speed debuffs from Effigy to get to Smoke Bomb and everything. Very nicely done there. Fists of Gork on the Giant to give it tons of extra combat stats, 101 melee attack, and all that jazz. Yeah, that's going to be way too much for the Dread Saurian. He takes some damage on the retreat. Will he actually shatter here? Oh, that's super painful. The Dread Saurian actually shatters, and that's more or less GG for the Lizardmen. You can see a massive dent in the balance of power. Not to mention all these Saurus Warriors just getting the brakes beaten off of them by Savage Orcs on that initial engagement. I'm not the biggest fan of Savage Orcs, but I mean, that's a valid use case for them right there. They definitely did a lot of damage to those Saurus, traded very cost effectively on that initial Wah engagement. You can see there's even one more group of Orc Boarboy Biggins here, and another Foot of Gork coming in. That Shield of the Old One's just slightly late in response. That is going to finish off those Saurus Warriors. And a relatively quick victory for the Greenskins. Still well played to Gobbo Slayer here. A little bit rough, but honestly, the game was closer than it looked. That front line did get crumped pretty hard. There was just a handful of units that were kind of healthy at the end of the day there. For Gobbo Slayer's side, I mean, Temple Guard, I see people take them here. Unless you have combat stat buffs from Lore of Light, I don't necessarily think that they're worth it. I think you just cut these guys down for Source with shields. Give shields to these Source, so you have, what, like 5 Source Warriors with shields. Give them some chevrons so they have better combat stats, and I think you're honestly probably better off go that route, but still, very well played to both players. Go ahead and update the scoreboard here. And yeah, we'll get back over to the bracket as I load up the next replay. Can Gobbo Slayer start a comeback here? We'll just get things loaded up. That adjusted there. And here we go. So, a grudge match. Dark Elves versus Dwarves. We've got Malice Darkblade, 5 Spears, and a Beast Caster. Karens of Cain, Pharaoh Manticore, Sisters of Slaughter, we've got 3 of them, and 3 Dark Shards with shields. As for the Dwarves, you can see they've immediately gone for an anti-Vanguard position here right in the corners. 4 Gyros, 4 Thunderers, 2 in each corner, as well as 4 Quarrelers. Make that 5 Thunderers. We've also got a Fire Drake here, and some Miners with Blasting Charges, a Rune Lord leading the way. So again, a kind of a defensive missile build here from Gobbo Slayer. Going to try to get some overlapping lines of fire, while Crabling definitely going for a more offensive focus. And Sisters of Slaughter are interesting here because they're fast. They have poison. What it means is that if you break dwarf units, you can actually chase them off with Sisters of Slaughter very, very easily. Of course, their light armor does make them a little bit vulnerable to missile units. Thankfully, the dwarves don't have a lot of shock units, like, shock cavalry and stuff like that, which is another weakness of Sisters of Slaughter. So, good stuff there. And, yeah, we'll see. Malice is coming in here. Doesn't look like he's going to get within range of those Quarrelers and those guns. They could maybe just step forward and start trying to get some shots at him here, but so far Gobbo Slayer just kind of getting his stuff in position here, trying to get his defensive kind of, not necessarily artillery onion, there's not really any artillery here, but missile onion set up. Orc big boys? You mean Orc biggins? I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean. Or maybe just Orc boys if they didn't suck so much. Anyway. Yeah. Quarrelers firing in here. Malice doing some fancy dodgy moves. Looks like they're going to continue pouring in some fire here. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but Rune of Wrath and Ruin going to be used on that Pharaoh Manticore. And then all these Thunder is probably going to open up on it. The direct fire... Interestingly enough, the direct fire skirmishers like Thunders are a lot better at shooting at air units because their missiles move faster and they move in a straight line. Just kind of interesting. Anyway, frontline engagement here, blasting charges being thrown and doing some okay damage. Sisters of Slaughter, though, obviously with their much better combat stats than these miners, are going to do pretty good. Karens of Cain getting bathed in fire up in the air. That is going to drop a handful of unit models there. Did a ton of HP damage, but oh man, this is bad. This is very bad. That Pharaoh Manticore took a ton of damage from that, but the Rune Lord is now matched up against Malice Darkblade here. This is not a good situation for the Rune Lord, obviously. He definitely needs to run the heck away from Malice before he just dies a horrible death, which he is currently doing. That being said, the Dwarves are doing okay over on this side. You can see they have managed to deal with a lot of the Dread Spears. They've got a nice little kind of missile concave right here. Karens of Cain are done without having done pretty much anything. The Fire Drakes, unfortunately, though, do get tangled up with the Sisters of Slaughter here. And once again, we see this very offensive playstyle from Crabling. Yeah, kind of rushing straight into the Dwarves here, disrupting a lot of their missile units. This side of the battlefield is definitely going in the Dark Elves' favor. As you can see, Malice has been able to break a lot of these units. And again, as I mentioned, those Sisters of Slaughter in this kind of chasing units off situation, very good. Got 2 Pharaoh Manticore summons active from the Beastcaster currently. And this isolated unit of Thunderers here are just going to get wrecked by Dark Shards, it looks like. Nice focus fire there. They obviously have a little bit of missile block chance, but it won't help them too much in that type of a situation. These Gyros running from the Manticores are going to try and get some pot shots as they go along. Looks like that Manticore actually drops, so this unit can start to turn and fire. Balance power still relatively even. This Sister of Slaughter done for. There's a lot of A lot of ranged units still for the dwarves kind of holding up in this pocket over here. But this summoned Feral Manticore, we're going to pressure these gyros, make sure to push them around so they can't just sit and fire. And yeah, over here, similar situation. Malice has got a bunch of units here, a bunch of relatively healthy, I say relatively healthy dwarf units right on the edge of the map that he's going to come chase off. Get a nice nom on his cold one here. Start to slap those poor dwarf thunders around. And that's probably going to be game, yep. You can see with these two units going off the side, with these other units over here going off the side, that is going to start to pressure the balance of power more and more in the favor of the Dark Elves here. Sisters of Slaughter using that Manticore to get a nice terror out on these Thunders. They have a ton of HP and leadership left, but that terror obviously kicks in. They get routed, and then, as I mentioned, the Sisters of Slaughter in an ideal situation are then chasing the dwarves, you know, chasing them while they're routing, getting those attacks. Their poison and their speed allows them to just clean up in a situation like this. So excellent use of that quick terror route from the Manticore there. The Beast Caster also helping to chase some of these routing units away as well. Really excellent use of Sisters of Slaughter here. And it's going to come down to pretty much just the gyros for Gallows Slayer. So we've still got some replays to get through. Let's go ahead and continue to fast forward. As the gyros make their final stand here, they're going to do a pretty good job of seeing off the Sisters of Slaughter there. They actually mass charge the Manticore and manage to rout it away, but these Dark Shards here are just a little bit too much. Critical army losses kicks in, and that is going to be game. So that will be the series for Crabling. So he is obviously going to be moving on to the grand final. We'll be checking back with him in just a moment. Well played to Gobbo Slayer. Congratulations to him for winning his qualifier and getting to this point. But Crabling just coming in heavy with the 3-0 sweep. And yeah, big thanks to both of them. Go ahead and switch back over to the bracket here. Here it is. And we'll move Crabling on to the grand final. And now let's move on to the series between Falcon and Flying Taco. For this first match, we're going to have Taco's Tomb Kings. I actually think I'm doing these out of order, but that's fine. Taco's Tomb Kings versus Falcon's Norska. And you can see they're on Glacial Lake, so we're going to get straight to the fun here. We've got Marauders, Berserkers, some Famir with great weapons, Throg, Skinwolf Werkin, and a Fire Balefiend, a couple of throwing axes for Falcon. For Taco, he's got a Casket of Memes, Tomb Scorpion here, Cetra the Imperishable, some Skeleton Spears, Nehekara Horsemen, Ushabti, Sepulchral Stalkers, Kepler Guard, we've got Sepulchral Stalkers, Skeleton Spears, Ushabti, and yeah, relatively straightforward build. Cetra coming in hot and heavy with a nice hit and run charge. Oh, those bones also raining in, doing some nice damage on that infantry there. You can see the Werkin comes over. Throg also going to try and come over. Will he get a hit? Will he apply the Frostbite? No, he will not. Instead, Cetra, very much imperishable, screens through his own skeletons here. Now, unit of skeletons is absolutely just getting sacrificed there, though. Maybe not. Looks like the Ushabti may come to support as well, but Throg plus the Werkin is bad news for those Ushabti. Meanwhile, the Scorpions over here matched up on some Famir. That will allow the Sepulchral Stalkers to then use their missile attack on the Famir, which is going to do some pretty decent damage, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to be worth it. Also, oh man, the Kepler Guard running in here with their magic attacks. They're weak to fire damage, obviously, but Fire Famir, not using Flaming Sword of Ruin or anything like that. This is a little bit of a numbers game here, though. You can see that the Norskins do heavily outnumber. A beautiful Burning Head as well, right down the line of those skeletons there. Just going to crumble them away immediately. Oh man, but then the Marauders run straight through it. A little bit of friendly fire there. Some pro MLG moves. But yeah, the Ushabti, is this the summoned Ushabti? Nope, just the regular Ushabti here. Actually doing, no, that is the summoned one. Okay. No, I can't tell. Interesting. Anyway, no, they are just the normal one. They're actually doing quite well with that. My will be done. They're up to 40 melee defense. Doing decently, helping to beat back some of this infantry here. The Famir over here get beat back, so actually looking pretty decent for the Tomb Kings. You can see that Throg, though, did manage to get on Cetra, and the Tomb Scorpion as well. We'll see kind of a 2-on-1 engagement there. The Casket continued to drop shots in the back, kind of dunk on this unit of Brutes of the Hound here, that unit of Zerkers. Meanwhile, the Sepulchral Stalkers trying to use up the rest of their missile attacks, doing a pretty decent job of it here. And oh man, the Werekin doing his best Gorbel impression and just flying across the battlefield as he gets tapped by the Scorpion. That is going to leave Throg somewhat isolated here. He's surrounded by Ushabti, he's got Tomb Scorpion, Cetra all pounding on him, so that's pretty rough stuff, but a beautiful Burning Head on the Kepler Guard. That is basically an ideal unit. The Kepler Guard's one counter is Burning Head, right? So that they're going to suffer really, really badly from that there. And it looks like here comes the Ushabti summon on a rear charge on these Famir warriors, potentially going to be routing them away. We do have some Skeleton Spears coming in as well. Likewise, the Sepulchral Stalkers come in for a charge. They rout away a few of these supporting Marauder units, but Cetra is pretty low, and he doesn't necessarily want to come in and fight. The Werekin plus Throg is just so much anti-large armor piercing regeneration, and I don't think, does Cetra bring his blade? Cetra, it looks like, did not actually bring his item, which in my opinion is a huge, huge mistake. Cetra's item actually gives him flaming damage, and it applies, applies that blinded debuff on these various units. Mostly I would bring it just for the flaming damage here. I mean, that extra damage spike from the fire may have been enough. You can see Throg is pretty low here, so with that fire damage, Cetra may have been able to finish him off. That being said, it's still relatively close. The Sepulchral Stalker still fighting. The Famir getting beat, actually, by Ushabti in the front line, which is pretty interesting. But the question is, can Throg beat Cetra? This is kind of the deciding engagement right here. He's got some Ushabti supporting, but the Werekin is also involved in this fight as well. So who will take the crown? Will Cetra perish, or is he going to live up to his name here? Looks like the summoned Ushabti are just about done for. The regular Ushabti are started to take some damage. No, they're still relatively healthy, but the numbers game is going to start to go in favor of Norska here. You can see there's a lot of rallying units here. These Skin Wolves rallying and regenerating. Likewise, the Marauder Horsemen have used up all of their ammo here, and the Casket, likewise, it used up almost all of its ammo. It's now going to get engaged in melee by these Marauder Horsemen and by these melee Marauders and so on. So yeah, pretty close, but Cetra getting three-teamed by the Famir here, which is going to be centering his armor, and Cetra comes in, the Werekin comes in. He's going to try and escape, but I don't know. These Ushabti, these other units here. Yeah, the balance of power, it's interesting because the Tomb Kings still have a pretty strong little presence in the center here, but because of all of these units that weren't able to be routed off, it still shows somewhat in favor. And oh man, Burning Head coming in here. Didn't actually get that great a contact, but still going to apply that leadership effect. Interestingly enough, I think if Throg were to maybe go down here, the balance power might flip, but the fact that the Werekin is still so healthy, I think is, yeah, actually, as soon as I mentioned that Throg routes, the balance power pretty much stays where it is because Cetra's taking hits and this Werekin's holding things up quite a bit as well, so very well played to both players. That is going to put Falcon up 1-0, just barely, very close game, very, very close game. And I think that might have been 6 minutes. Is that a record for the longest game on Glacial Lake? I honestly have no idea. But yeah, that is a 1-0 for Falcon, and so let's quickly get to the bracket here. We've got to just move through these replays, so we're going to get straight to the next one. GG, yeah, that was a great one. Fantastic. Okay, and let's get things moving over here. Back over to the main screen. This time we've got Skaven versus Dark Elves. Ikit Claw plus a bunch of Skaven. Let's see what we've got here. We've got a couple of Doom Flayers, a whole bunch of Skaven Slaves up front, some Rat Ogres, 3 units of Rat Ogres, some Poison Wind Globes, Warp Grinders, and Natty Boobos. We've also got some Clan Rat Spears in the back. As for the Dark Elves, Chill of Sontar plus a second Hydra. Tons of infantry here. We've got a Supreme Sorceress Lore Fire up on a Manticore, some Dark Riders, Doomfire Warlocks, including the Celestious Harvesters, of course. So yeah, very interesting builds on both sides. Of course, the Hydras, to be expected from Falcon, Chill of Sontar. They are going to be pretty decent in this matchup, though. Taco doesn't actually have that many great tools for dealing with the Hydras. Doesn't have that many great missile units, which is obviously their main weakness. And in terms of melee units, he doesn't have that many great melee units for dealing with it either. Fireball looks like it's probably going to go after that Plague Priest there. Does a decent amount of HP damage, not the full amount of damage, but still. Gets a nice clip there. And yeah, the light cavalry pushing forward. Keep in mind, once more, Dark Riders are a unit of shock cavalry, 40 charge bonus on them, 40 charge bonus on Doomfire Warlocks as well. You can see Natty Boobos start to open up on these cav here. Celestious Harvesters take a couple of little hits. And yeah, it's so far so good. Nice breath attack. I say nice. Didn't actually get that great a contact. Another breath attack being used on some Skaven slaves, which is questionable value-wise, but is going to do a decent amount of damage. And this unit of flares here, kind of out of position, is going to try and go after the Hydra. I'm not really sure. It looks like they're actually coming in to rear charge some of these infantry, but the Hydra kind of gets a hold of it there. The Rat Ogres pull up to potentially get a charge in on those on the Hydra here, but over here we've got a huge kind of pitched engagement. Globes tossing in their stuff. The Warp Grinders are going to come in and probably use their effects here to start to pin some stuff in place, start to deal some damage to it as well. Maybe. Not sure. Not yet. But looks like we're going to get a nice Burning Head just wrecking one unit of Clan Rats right there. The bombardment comes down as well. Bleak Swords are getting terrified away, though, by Ikit on his Doom Wheel. He's coming in doing a lot of anti-infantry damage. The Globes, likewise, are coming in and doing a lot of damage. I didn't see if those Warp Grinders actually got their effects off, but a big Death Frenzy over here gets overcast right as some of these units tear out, which is very, very unfortunate for Taco, but it did catch some of these Rat Ogres who now have the immune to psychology to try and fight the Hydras here. Likewise, the Flayers are clearing out a lot of the infantry. Just infantry on both sides just died horribly, basically, in that fight. The Dark Riders managed to get away, though, get a nice charge here. Going to start to clean up some of these units in the periphery. Looks like these Doom Flayers and the Rat Ogre is going to come in as a response. They'll be able to clean them out very effectively. Nice Warp Lightning coming down over here. Doesn't get the best contact, but gets a few of those units there. Ikit's going to have to be careful. He gets beat up a little bit by the Fire Sorceress here on her Manticore. Looks like Soul Stealer over here. Going to do quite a bit of damage to those Poison Wind Globadiers in particular, but there are still some Clan Rats in various supporting positions as well. Kind of take a big overarching look. We've still got plenty of Flayers. We've still got plenty of Rat Ogres as well for the Skaven. Another nice Burning Head. Maybe not the best placement there, but it does some okay damage. Doomfire Warlocks, Celestious Harvesters now getting taken down by this kind of Bicycle and Rat Ogre squad. But the two Hydras are still very, very healthy. Still very much online. And, I mean, the Skaven can try and kill everything but the Hydras and just leave them till last. But they're going to be tough to take down. Natty Boobos, you can see, getting rear charged here by some Dark Riders. That's going to be very effective in shutting them down. Oh, man, looks like some friendly fire as well from Ikit as he does a drive-by with his Doom Wheel here, trying to protect. There's the Warp Quake and the other one, the Seismic Snare, and that will snare all these guys in place, do quite a bit of damage to them as well. Probably going to lead to a lot of them getting terrified away by Ikit here. I heard that Death Frenzy go off. Sounds like it was on these Rat Ogres over here who are trying to fight this Hydra in melee, but again, Chill of Sontar and the other Hydra both completely healthy still pretty much, whereas the rest of the Dark Elf army is basically dead. So yeah, pretty good stuff for the Dark Elves there. Ikit's getting relatively low. Maybe he'll be able to make something happen. He's using that unlimited power to try and get some extra winds of magic here, but I just don't see how the Skaven can finish off. Whoop, nice little dodge from Ikit there on that fireball. Yeah, I don't see how they can finish off these Hydras here. Looks like we're going to get a debuff here. Soul Blight from the Doomfire Warlocks, helping to sunder some of the armor there and just debuff the weapon damage as well. Looks like a bombardment also comes in And with the Manticore, that is going to be a dead Icket. Oh, yep. Oh man, it didn't show the Mushroom Cloud. What happened? The effect bugged out. Aw. Anyway, the Mushroom Cloud did actually do a bunch of damage to the Supreme Sorceress. Oh, there it is. Yeah, nice. Just a little delayed there, but yeah. The Supreme Sorceress does actually take damage from that, and now the Natty Bubo's trying to focus on her, which, I don't know, maybe the Natty Bubos, talking with Taco afterwards, they were focused on the cavalry, but I think had he used the Howling Warp Gale plus Natty Bubos to try and snipe out this Fire Sorceress, that would have been a decent way to try and bring down the leadership of these Hydras and then just try and rout them off. I think was really the only way that he had of dealing with them, but still very well played. You can see both armies basically dead. It's just the Hydras basically that carried the game for Falcon here, so yeah, another excellent game. GG indeed. And we'll go ahead and update the scoreboard as they're finishing things up here. So now, can Taco take the next game, or will we see another 3-0 sweep to take us into the grand final? We'll fast forward this a little bit as the Hydras come through, get on that final little missile pocket, and finish things off. So taking a look at the post breakdown there. Pretty good stuff. Taco at the end of the day just didn't, again, quite have the tools to take down the Hydra that he needed to. Maybe sniping out the Sorceress first and then getting a leadership route would have worked out, but definitely tough to make those kind of calls in the heat of battle. So well played to both. We'll switch back over to the bracket here. Get this next replay loaded up. Will it be the last one, or can Taco get a game here, maybe make it a series? Oh, geez. Okay. That's fantastic. I am a genius. Okay. That's why nobody is watching. I'm wondering why there's only like 5 people watching here. And then somebody mentioned, like, hey, your stream isn't actually showing as public. And yeah, I had it set to unlisted because I'm a genius. How do I do this, guys? Anyway, oh well, you guys can all go back and watch the games. We need to get started here anyway, so yeah, Flying Taco versus Lizardman here, versus Falcon's Lizardman. We've got Carl Franz, got some Outriders doing some skirmishing right away with some Chameleon Skinks, and now I'm all flustered because we're just on the bracket. Okay, getting back over to the actual screen here so we can see what's going on. Yeah, I can't believe that. I can't believe I had it as unlisted. I'm like, why are there only 5 people watching? Do I need to restart the stream? Okay, well, we're just going to quit this replay then. I am going to restart the stream, maybe? I don't know. What should we do, guys? I am on a bit of a timetable right now, so you know what? I'm just going to go through this battle. We're going to restart the stream afterwards, and then, yeah, we'll just do it that way. I'm such a good YouTuber, guys. I'm so good at this. Anyway, we've got a bunch of Chameleon Skinks here doing some skirmishing, front line of some swordsmen, Sigmar's Sons, warrior priest. We've got Demigryph Knights with halberds, spearmen with shields here, Hellblaster volley gun. Wow, Hellblaster volley gun. You don't see that every day. Apologies, guys. My voice is now deciding to give out on me because, of course, just everything that can go wrong will go wrong at the same time. We've got some Cold Run Riders here. Some Source Warriors with shields. Yeah, a cohort of Sotek. Looks like High Slon. So Tempest and Healings for the Dread Saurian here. We've also got, yeah, some more Feral Cold Run Riders. So pretty good stuff. And as for the rest, Hellblaster volley gun shooting in, doing some decent damage to the Chameleon Skinks. Actually, Chameleon Skinks are going to be a decent option for the Hellblaster to try and shoot at. It can try and shoot at the Dread Saurian here, but it's going to be a little bit tough with the healing and everything to really take that thing down all the way. You can see a little bit of pre-heal with Apotheosis. Of course, also procs that Shield of Safri effect to give that tiny bit of damage resistance just for a short amount of time. Every little bit helps, certainly. Meanwhile, Outriders over here trying to get into a position to get some good fire, but Velcon doing a great job screening with these Javelin cohorts here. They're going to get engaged on by some spears, but will it be enough? Saurus Warriors come in here. They start to eat some of these swordsmen up. They're just taking quite a bit of damage, though, at the same time. Franz gets up in the air, and that is going to lead to an immediate Tempest on him. Demigryph Knights come in, but here come the Cold One Riders and the Dread Saurian also coming in for a counter charge on the Demigryph Knights. This is potentially a bad situation. They're also not really in a position to get support. Franz could come in and actually use his support buffs, which he needs to, because the Demigryph Knights are taking some damage here, but it looks like they try and pull back and pull away. Carl then comes in for the counter charge, potentially. Looks like that cohort of Sotek doing a great job supporting this fight. They are an ideal unit to be supporting here with their poison, their armor piercing, you know, their decent stats, they're unbreakable and everything. They can get in here and support very effectively. Looks like we're going to be having a regrowth probably on those Royal Altar Cryphites. Yep. Reichland Runefang and Standard Ground being used as well, so you can see the Dread Saurian taking a lot of damage here. The Hellblaster Volley Gun also still online, able to fire in here, and that Dread Saurian getting beat down pretty hard, but some of those Hellblaster Volley Gun shots are probably doing some friendly fire damage, and you can see the Demigryph Knights just don't have the melee defense to stand up to a big fight like this. The cohort of Sotek and the you know, just the overwhelming numbers here, and the Dread Saurian getting a few key hits as well, leads to them getting routed away very, very quickly here. And I mean, Demigryph Knights with halberds are really kind of a bad unit, to be honest. And I know that's going to be a controversial statement, but only 30 melee defense means they die so fast in an engagement like this. I mean, yeah, 125 armor, but when everything has armor piercing, that doesn't matter, right? So yeah, Demigryph Knights, this is one of the reasons why I almost always say bring the shields. I mean, it's only a difference of 8 melee defense, and, of course, less cost as well. But the fact of that extra melee defense just makes them that much tankier in a situation like this. Carl's going to try and make it respectable, though. We still got one unit of Demigryph Knights here, the Altor Cryphites, with their better melee defense, obviously, being a regiment of renown. You can see the difference that makes. They're still fighting here. They still got 43 melee defense. They also got some healing, of course, as well, which makes a huge difference. But, yeah, trying to defend this Hellblaster Volley Gun. A little bit of a lost cause at this point. Franz is still fighting. Actually, maybe not a lost cause. Ooh, a quick Tempest. Franz actually gets down on the ground before it hits him. It is still going to do damage, but he at least is able to get in here and start to get some hits in the meantime. Here comes the Saurian, though. Wasn't able to be finished off earlier. Going to come in and get a few massive hits on Carl, and that's really all it takes to turn things around. He's going to take an Earthblood. He's also got all of his buffs active. Maybe should just turn around and fight the Dread Saurian with all of those buffs active, honestly. But yeah, with this kind of collapsing pocket right here, that is going to be the end for the Empire. Carl, again, going to try and make it respectable, so we'll fast forward as he does so. But that is the end, pretty much. So a bold choice from Taco, taking a Hellblaster Volley Gun, and it almost works out here as he is able to finish off the Dread Saurian, but then just the rest of the army is a little bit too much for Carl to finish by himself. So an interesting pick, a little bit questionable, but it is what it is. So yeah, people are actually starting to filter in now that it's time for the real final. But that is a 3-0 win for Falcon. So for those of you just joining, apologies about all the shenanigans with my stream actually was hidden for whatever reason. I don't know why. I thought it was automatically set to be public, but I guess I didn't check that, so that's on me. But yeah, welcome to you guys. If you want to watch any of the semi-final rounds, I've just casted all of them, so catch those. And on the playback as well. We're going to take a quick break as I get these guys set up on their grand final. We're going to have Falcon versus Crabling, of course. So Falcon moves on, and now we've got the grand final between these two players. Let's get to it. I'm going to go ahead and get loaded in here. Bear with me just a moment. Okay. Okay, just getting some things set up here. Let me actually get some music going for you guys while I get things set up. I'm going to be a little bit silent for just a minute here, and I'll be back in just a moment. Or you know what, I am actually going to stop the stream for just a minute while we get this set up, and I will be right back. I'll start up the stream once again when I'm ready for the final, and we'll do it for real this time. For real. So, yeah. Stay tight, guys. We'll be back in just a moment.